Welcome to The Disappearing Mind, a unique podcast helping you find clarity and support along your dementia journey. Now, join National Dementia Trainer and Coach, Dawn Platt, for an all-new episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Disappearing Mind podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Platt, dementia coach, National Memory Care Director, and someone who's deeply passionate about helping families and professionals to see the person behind the diagnosis. Today's episode is truly one that's going to bring a smile to my face because it did the first time I heard it. And I want to talk about why I chose to do this episode. And I think it's going to be fun and relatable to all of you. But because it brings a smile, to my face, it's because I can relate. And I think you're going to relate to not only my guest, but what she's done and what she's going to share with us today. I think that you will relate to it. It's about a simple thing that all of us can do. Ellie just happened to bring it to the next level. It's about something familiar that all of us can relate to, and something almost all of us associate with comfort and belonging. That's the part that I felt was powerful about Ellie's program, Ellie's project that she's going to share today, and that is food. Food. I am a foodie, and we all have our upbringings, our cultural traditions, and generally that surrounds us with talking about food, eating food, socializing. So it's not about nutrition compliance today, not about calorie counts or dietary modifications, but the memories of shucking corn on a summer porch, snapping green beans or peas into a metal bowl, and the smell of something baking in the oven. Today, I am joined by Ellie Shively. She is the Divisional Director of Culinary at Terabella Senior Living. Ellie took what started as a small activity inside of one memory care community and unintentionally created something much bigger, something that surprised even her, a sensory dining program called A Table of Memories. And what she witnessed is truly remarkable. Welcome to the podcast, Ellie.
Thank you, Dawn. I'm so happy to be here and talk about a topic that's so important to both of us.
So, Ellie, I want you to share with the audience a little about yourself, and maybe just real briefly, we'll unpack this, but real briefly, what your intention was.
My intention was to dig deeper. I felt that there was more that we could offer and collaborate in culinary with memory care, and I just wanted to start exploring that. Basically, is where it came from, and loving our memory care, living on that neighborhood.
Absolutely. So tell our audience a little about your role at Terabella Senior Living and just a couple personal things about you.
Yes, I currently work as a divisional director of culinary. So that means I oversee the culinary department for our 56 communities right now. I get to work one-on-one with all of our amazing chefs. And I came from a community working, we had a memory care unit, and I always really enjoyed my time over there and connecting with residents. I'm from South Louisiana, so food is a big part of our culture, a lot of agriculture, fishing, shrimping. So I grew up doing these things with my family. So I think it kind of, snowballed from there, it being something I was used to doing with my family.
So I sense a little bit of your cultural background that you brought to the table for this. So how did you move from just culinary leader, right, dining program, food, to something that feels deeply therapeutic, but is culturally connecting? When you first brought in farm picked produce, right? The corn, the peas, um, what was your original intention?
My original intention was to spend time with residents and have an activity that was hands-on and regional, so using fruits and vegetables that our residents would have used when they were growing up and seeing where that took us. I love conversing while I'm cooking with my family, so I thought that that could be something that would come out of it. And also, including care staff and everyone all together doing something that we all love, which is cooking and eating.
So when you shared with me the first time about a table of memories, your idea, your thought, right? Did you really think that you were going to experience what you did?
No way. I could have never imagined that I was going to experience what we did. It totally blew my mind, and I refer to those first 4 days that we kind of piloted this experience as like this inward reset of why I do, why we work hard to find new ways to meet people in our communities. And it just opened up my eyes to a world of possibilities and deep connection. It was just amazing. I walked away from those 4 days just feeling like I had, so much more to give in so many ways that we can help.
Well, for our listening audience, which are not all in memory care, right? Some of them are beginning the dementia journey. Some of them are curious about the dementia journey. Some have just begun or gotten diagnosed, and they're caregivers and they're caregiving for their spouse or their friend or their brother or sister. For them, tell them what a table of memories is.
So we do a few different activities, but they're all based around what you would do at home, right? It's an activity that they're all activities that I did in my home growing up. We shuck corn. We do that outside on a lovely day. We'll take beans out there and snap beans. We do some bread making, some other forms of baking like cookies and decorating. We clean and cut vegetables. We've made some pizzas and some doughs. So just all things that are relatable cooking experiences that you would have done at home or that my grandparents would have actually done, right? We're not making ravioli. My grandparents didn't make ravioli. We, clean vegetables and things like that. So that's, it's something you can do, at your home, you're right, or on a larger scale, like in a neighborhood in one of our communities.
So take us back to that first experience, right? What did you experience when you introduced this particular program to a memory care community, a memory care group, right? What changed in the room? What happened that you didn't expect when you connected these folks, these individuals, these residents to produce, right? Familiar produce. And they touched it and handled it. And tell us about that.
It was it's like their eyes lit up and came alive in a way that like I get excited whenever I see something I want to cook with. So um deep conversations was the most remarkable thing that I was able to tap into. We went outside and we started shucking corn. And of course, there were a lot of jokes from the residents. Oh, you're putting me to work like my mom and dad put me to work. And I would start asking them about, how did you grow up? Oh, I grew up on a farm. Or, my mom always had me snapping beans. So lots of conversation, connecting about like whenever we did bread making, we have a resident, and she was an award-winning like bread maker at state fairs, and she was showing me how to score the bread. She judged my loaf of bread and told me it was too dense, gave me feedback on how to fix my bread. And then also like tapping into like there was a lady there, first female in her field from a graduating class of 100 plus men, and she was able to I was able to connect with her about like what that was like in her career in that time in history. So it was just incredible to have conversations that like you and I have, completely led by the resident, and the residents, there was no guiding, right? I never had to show someone how to snap a pea or a bean. They just started doing it and started doing it perfectly to the point where they were teaching care staff how to do it and giving us feedback on our work.
I love it. I love it. So, I call that a neuroplasticity activity. It's connecting new memories to old memories, which are still in the brain bank, right? And it's kind of like riding a bicycle, right? It just comes back to you. But you shared something with me that I want my audience to hear and to know. I know these things. I see these things. I smell these things in a memory care. It's my life and what I do, but I don't think everybody is able to recognize this. And I want you to share it the way that you shared it with me kind of initially, but you shared with me that some of the residents in the memory care who participated in this program typically were a little bit more withdrawn or maybe not really verbal and social and not necessarily highly engaged in most activities. What happened when they began shucking corn or snapping peas?
Yes. So I am an emotional person, so it definitely was it moved me emotionally. There was one resident, we'll call her Miss Sally, and she what she did every day, and you can even see in the background of some of our pictures, is she just likes to walk. She keeps to herself and she just walks all day, not really interacting much and verbal, really nonverbal. And it was a beautiful day, and we went outside and we sat down, and I just put a pile of beans in front of her, and she just looked at them and smiled and started snapping beans. And then I started asking her some questions, and she started talking to me about her life. And I mean, it was like this wow moment. And she's just sat there with us for like 45 minutes talking and snapping. She's actually the resident who was teaching care staff how to snap beans. There's a much younger care, care giver who had never done this activity before, and just starting to talk about that. That happened multiple times with residents who really didn't participate in many activities, but we guided them over to our activity and just put the project, the what we were cooking in front of them, and conversation just started flowing. And that's where it really started tugging on my heartstrings, right? Because it was like opening a window or a door that they could see through. They connected, and it was just beautiful to see an entire their whole, you know, they were sitting and talking and smiling and connecting, and it was that was really powerful. I did not expect that to happen, and it's beautiful memories. And whenever I've gone back and then these things again, still the same reaction, not a one-off.
Wow. So, how did the staff react to that? Because they see these residents every day and they must have seen that switch click. How did they react to that connection, that muscle memory switch, is what I'm going to call it, that clicked on? What did they think about that?
They were amazed and having a lot of fun in the activity as well. It was like you couldn't tell we were in activity. We were hanging out, talking. I think that it also created a connection, a real connection to the person that to the heart of the resident, right? And that opened up, I could see the eyes of a care staff for more respect and empathy and connection, because they were able to actually have a conversation, which I thought was beautiful. And, after we'd have each activity, we'd talk among the care staff, and they were all just amazed by it. And also I could see like the wheels turning a bit of, how can I reach a resident? I need it. I can be more creative about it, or there is conversation that can be had. I just have to unlock that conversation.
Well, Ellie, this is the part of my job that fascinates me. It has my entire career. In dementia, we often lose short-term memory, right? But procedural memory, right, retains skills, the ability to do something can remain intact much longer. And the key is, and this is therapeutic, is connecting to it. What you did was you facilitated, right? You made that happen, connecting to a procedural memory, and it came out, it came alive. And with that comes all the memories behind it and all the stories behind it. I've seen that happen in gardening. I've seen it happen in cooking. I've seen it happen in subjects that maybe are related to their occupation or expertise, right? But did you expect these individuals, right, who you said pace all day, right, did you expect to see that level of skill retained and that it would still be there?
No, it was shocking, and I felt like I had put limitations on a resident by, whenever I was laying everything out in the chef world, we call it a mise en place. It's all the setup. I'm thinking of a lot of guidance, but no, this is meticulous, perfect work that was coming out, like scoring. Everything was right there, and just great. Like it was exactly no guidance needed and great skill sets. And I guess sometimes in other activities, like sometimes maybe artwork or others, you see this guidance that needs to take place, and there was none of that whatsoever. It was all resident led, and that's what I loved about it. Is I felt like we were giving them their space to tap in and show us their world.
What started as an activity, right, is now looking at a structured program, obviously one that I'm going to promote because I love it, right? A table of memories. My dad was a farmer. I could go 100 different ways with that, but walk us through in your eyes, right, what that program could look like, not only in a community, right, but in someone's home. Let's say, I'm at home, I'm a spouse, my husband is in the mid to mid late stages. Um, how do I look at where he's from? And let's relate to you. Let's say he's from the region or the parish of Louisiana that you're from. Like, what would this look like?
Well, for us, we would, peppers. My pawpaw was actually a pepper picker, and also, so we'd probably I get some peppers and grow them in the garden and take him out there to pick with me. We'd probably, um, clean shrimp, peeling shrimp. We could do activities like scaling a fish. Also, we have a lot of sugar cane there. So, and you don't have to use a knife to clean sugar cane. You can actually just get it started peeling. So I would think doing things like that. Also, if my mama was involved, I would have her, walk me through a recipe and help me make a gumbo or an etouffee. And that same concept is translated into a community, right? If for a community in Georgia, we're going to use regional vegetables and fruits that are grown right there so that it's something relatable. It pulls straight through. I'm not going to bring kiwi and dragon fruit to a Georgia neighborhood. I'm gonna bring, peaches and corn and things like that. So I that's kind of I yeah.
Yeah, so I also wanted to have Ellie on for obviously our memory care communities, but for families at home, powerful recipes that have been in your family. You know what the grandmother cooked. You know traditionally what you had at holidays. You know what festivals you went to, right? So even if they cannot, cook with you, they can hold those uh, items, those vegetables, those whatever. They can talk about the stories related to them. They could talk about, what we had at Christmas or during Easter, or they could talk about a memory of the grandmother or the grandfather or the mima or the papa or whatever you happen to call them in your family. These are moments that you can still tap into to whatever degree in a dementia care setting. And it could be a smile. It could be them enjoying that piece of apple pie and you stating, this is your recipe or this is Mima's recipe kind of thing. These are just ways to really connect with the person with dementia through food, which is hugely, hugely powerful and seems to stay there a very long time in the memory bank. But I know the answer to this, but it's around stimulating long-term memory. But one of the most powerful points to any memory care program is that point of connection, and you have successfully done that through food, and I love it. I promote it. I'd like to see it more in the memory care setting. But why do you think that task, right? Like cutting fruit or shucking corn are so powerful?
Well, I think from a chef's perspective, it gives a lot of sense of purpose and community. Whenever we complete a task, it's that sense of satisfaction, and doing it through cooking is immediate, right? You prepared it, you cleaned the vegetable, and then you get to try it or eat it. I think creating that flow and creates a sense of community and makes you feel a part, and that's really I mean, I personally don't have dementia, but I could see how it probably feels very isolating, and so bringing that all together and part and contributing to the table
Mm-hmm.
and sharing with others is part of it.
Well, one of the most powerful things that we can do in dementia care, whether at home or in a community, and like the communities that we both serve, right, is engage all the senses, the five senses. Those are ways that we can connect, right? So one thing I love about this program is that it isn't just about taste, but it's about the visual connection, the memory connection, the texture connection, right? And could be, in many cases, the smell, the sense of smell, right? And so this community that you introduced us in is one of our National Shine Memory Care communities, right? Which is an accredited community that use a program that I oversee, right? That is founded on the science of connecting memories. That's really what the basis of this program is. But how intentionally did you design the sensory environment for this program? Is that something you thought about? Did you do it through table setting or contrast? Smells from cooking? What are some of the features of your program that you feel like will support the person with dementia?
Yeah, I tried to make it an all-encompassing environment, from wearing aprons to trigger, oh, this is last time I put on an apron, this is what I was doing, creating workstations. Each resident had their own station, a mat that they could work on. It was a silicone mat. We gave full-size utensils, not something minimized, something that they would actually be using. The ingredients were raw. We would interact with the ingredients, and just trying to create an entire environment that just brought you into this world. We had a kitchen area that we did it in, and just talking about what we were going to prepare first and making it as many things as we could to bring it into we're cooking now. The apron idea came from an interaction that I had with a resident once. She had had a fall, and I went check on her. I had my chef coat on, and I said, "What's wrong, Miss Judy?" And she said, "It was the food," and it was because she saw my chef coat. So that made me want to from that experience have the garment of the apron and just everything as much as how they would have prepped it up and cooked it up at their house, trying to go basic because just make it simple because simple works.
Yes, simple does work. I love that too about this program. But research shows us that smell and taste connect directly to the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. The reason this is so important is the sensory pathways that we have often remain accessible even when cognition declines. I've seen this through religion, I've seen it through music, I've seen it through food, specifically just the top three. But all of us carry, and you've alluded to this, all of us carry a deeply rooted cultural imprint that shapes who we are. And that doesn't go away, right? The foods we grew up eating, the prayers we recited, the music played at family gatherings, the rituals tied to holidays, seasons, and community. These are not surface memories. They are layered, emotional, and repeatedly reinforced over decades of our lives. So in dementia, while short-term recall may decline, these slowly fade away because they're stored across multiple areas, multiple neural networks of our brain. And this is really powerful. There's a saying in dementia care, and it says, connect to them, step into their world, meaning, you build trust and relationship through connecting to people. And you connect to people by understanding who they are, who they were, what they love, what they value, even when they no longer remember that on the surface. You can actually connect to that for them and build that bridge back to the memories that you experienced with these particular residents. So familiar foods, songs, scents, prayers, seasonal customs, all of these are powerful. And that's why you will find, just for an example, in a memory care setting, every memory care setting, I'm going to say, if this person was deeply spiritual or religious, but depending on who they were, what their particular beliefs and traditions were. If a priest were to walk into a room with a collar and there was a Catholic group in that memory care, you won't have to tell them who he is or she is, right? If they happen to be Jewish, right, and a Jewish rabbi walks into the room, you don't have to explain who he is. It's part of their culture and tradition, and on and on and on and on. This is the same principle that we need to think about when we're wanting to engage people. It's a supportive mechanism, Ellie, to help them recall things that they value, things that they love, things that are important without having to ask questions or do you remember this or do you remember that? It is in the memory bank. It is stamped on their memory, on their heart. It's part of who they are. And that's why familiar foods, familiar traditions, and connecting them to the things that have made them who they are, that they've shared with loved ones is so very, very powerful. And tradition itself, and we all have those traditions. They're not at all the same. That's what makes the world go round. That's what makes people so special. But our role in providing care is to not try and build one size fits all, not try and, you could duplicate this program in a Asian community, right? You just simply have to tweak it. We talked about regional agriculture as we were having a discussion, and how important that was to change the menu, right? So to speak, depending on where you're talking about. Obviously, in the United States was our conversation, but what you would do a little bit different from Louisiana to California to Pennsylvania. All of those things are truly powerful. And I wanted to have the discussion today so that people realize that it's not one size fits all. It's not one programming calendar that is the way, right? It needs to be customized and tweaked. But I want to ask you, as you were describing this particular woman who obviously impacted you very deeply, but how the countenance of the residents as they were engaged, not just being served, not just participating in something. Did you see anything in them, such as a sense of pride, or obviously you saw leadership emerge, teaching and engagement? Did you see anything else that you could describe to our audience?
Yes, definitely a sense of pride. Of course, from our award-winning baker, state award-winning, but also pride in helping each other. That same resident, she started helping the lady beside her and teaching her. So not just with the direct person that was leading the activity, but also amongst themselves, conversation, lots of smiles. Clarity. Sometimes you don't get to see that look of clarity always when you're in a memory care unit, but just you could see that they knew exactly what was going on. This was familiar, a look of joy and just that flow and talking amongst themselves, and definitely taking ownership of the task, um, and taking it over. And that was what was so beautiful to me, was to see that ownership. And this is my task. I'm going to shuck this corn. I'm going to score this pie, and I'm going to show you how it's done, which is what a parent or a grandparent does. They teach us how to do things. So I felt that I was learning. I got some great feedback on why my loaf of dough was so dense.
That's interesting. I love it. I love it from a professional, right? From somebody who's been there, done that.
Yeah.
So you talked about increased conversation, and you talked about a little bit about how they were reminiscing. Share that a little more. If I could get caregivers in a memory care setting and out of a memory care setting to embrace the power of connecting for reminiscing, I think it would change their experience. One of the things that I'm so thankful for in my own life, I'm trying not to get emotional, but I practiced what I preach with my own mother, who passed away almost 3 years ago with vascular dementia. Is I connected her memories often so that I stay connected to my mom, that I reached her. And I feel like, and I think others who knew my mom would say this is true, that I was able to keep her longer. And one of the things that my many families that I coach say to me is that I don't want to lose mom quickly. I don't want her to fade away. And there's a fade that happens in this horrific disease. But staying connected was really important to me. My mom never forgot my name. She never forgot who I was, even though at times it was a little bit of muddied waters. I reminisced with her often. I built that bridge so that she could share, and she shared things with me over the 7-year journey that she had never shared before. I don't know where those were or why she didn't share them, before she had dementia, but it was powerful. The deep-seated emotions that she had for her father and her mother and growing up, and kind of hidden gems, that she shared. And it was through that bridge of reminiscence. But, how have you thought about where this program could go and how you could really package it to make a difference across mass numbers of communities?
Yes, I think that also links back to the um, not cookie cutter, right? It's you very much have to know who the person is, and as working in these communities, we take the time to get to know someone. That's how I knew to guide my questions. Is in our memory care, we have a little window that talks about each person, so that's how I knew how to start making that personal connection. And I think keeping it personal, you can, and keeping it about the individual. We might not have every resident did not participate, but every life that we can impact matters. And so kind of taking the heat off of how big do I have to do this, and keeping it simple, and also just giving time for the person to respond. Um, yeah, sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. I understand completely. It's very emotional. It's very powerful. Let's just talk about something else. I'll move on and give you a moment to catch your breath. Okay. One of the things that I don't know if you even realized that you were doing, but I'm going to point it out here, is being supportive of cognitive and motor skills. Dexterity goes. Um, those kind of things can diminish, but repetitive and guided movements such as kneading dough or sorting ingredients or snapping beans, these are gentle stimulation of fine motor skills. Did what you were doing feel therapeutic at all?
Yeah, I think it definitely was. It's such a great way to get active, and it definitely felt more therapeutic than clinical because we were doing home things. This is their home. And so for me, for myself, whenever I'm cooking, I'm thinking about things, and I'm not just thinking about the recipe, and I'm conversing. And that's exactly what I was trying to pull out. And that's what we were able to pull out. So um, it wasn't, even though we were in a community, it felt way more like a home experience. And we just kind of got lost in the moment. And that's what was beautiful about it.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I always teach is that every resident has a rich history, right? And food is culture, food is identity, right? Did you incorporate regional or cultural meaning into this program? Did you gather like food histories, seasonal favorites, family recipes? Have you done that, and will you be doing that more in the future?
Definitely want to do that more in the future, as far as learning from each resident, things that they would like to cook. From that feedback, when the lady who was the baker, she started telling me about a recipe. If I worked in that community, we would be making that cherry pie next week. Definitely moving with the seasons. We think of vegetables and we think of the summer and the spring, but there's also the fall. We're going to be, cleaning potatoes, and we're going to be making apple pies. When I was in a community, we did do resident recipes. We'd have whole meals that were just from the residents, and I would get a lot of I got great feedback on my brittle. I need to work on it. But I think as much as we can connect and not think of it as a whole, but think of how important that one connection is, because it is a connection. But you can still, make an overall package on how to deliver that. And it's keeping it simple, and remembering that this person has so much to offer us. It's not just what we can bring to the table, it's what they want to show us of themselves.
So let's talk about team culture, right? I'm curious about your culinary team. I've said this to you before. I think that they're so talented. And I don't think they realize often how much their role plays in memory care. Did this program, or is this program shifting how your culinary team feels about their contributions to memory care?
Most definitely. In an interview, an initial hiring interview, I often hear, I love memory care. But what do you do with that love? How do we show that? And I think we can get stumped. It's just the meal. I'm going to do a nice meal. And this has opened up an opportunity for our chefs to bring their talent, their passion, and their skills to interact with the resident, not just serve the resident. So there's a lot of excitement, participation, um, very, and it clicks, when we start talking about it and we talk about it like you and I are talking about it. It's kind of like, oh yes, this makes sense. We're really excited about it. And also, I know I've said this a few times, but the simplicity of it is what's beautiful, that all they have to do is go over there with a bowl of beans or some dough, and they're going to pass, an hour and a half getting to know their residents better, which will guide the program, and the program will kind of guide itself, in each community
Mm-hmm.
differently.
Absolutely. So, for other communities and even families listening, this sounds beautiful, but they may be wondering, does this require large budget? What would be the smallest first steps for that someone could take if they wanted to implement this into their caregiving journey? How well could this be done at home?
Well, my first advice would be to go down the produce aisle and pick up. So you can start that simply with a trip to the grocery store. It really was a very simple setup and not much of an investment. You're talking about apron, a cutting board space, and a rolling pin and some spoons. And the main thing that you're doing is just bringing in that produce and those ingredients, but uh, it's not a big investment. You can start just at any point, right? It's not like you have to wait for, I need this specific thing made for someone with dementia. It's just using household items. We're doing it multiple times a week in our community, but also, if you don't have that much time, it could be, on Thursday nights, I make bread with my mom, or, Sunday mornings, me and my dad go out in the garden, or if it's cold, we do something on the porch with food. So, yeah.
Wow. As we begin to close, which I don't want to close, I could talk to you forever. I have a question for you. What surprised you most through this journey? Share it with our audience.
I It was twofold. It's surprised me how much I had put how I could connect with someone with dementia in a box. I had actually created my own box, and I didn't realize how much I could connect. And now that I know, it's like I can't unsee it. So it really has taught me to, never think that there's nothing more that we can do. There's always more and more exploring. And I am just so excited about where this is going to go. And, now that people at home are listening to it, if one person can go and connect with their family and let those walls fall down of that fell down for me. I saw that I had limited my space, and really there was so much to open up, and we are opening up.
Well, Ellie Shively, Divisional Culinary Director for Terabella Senior Living, thank you for being on the podcast with me today. And thank you for being inspiring, right, to individuals and communities out there. I want to say to my listening audience in closing, to everyone who's listening, today's episode is a reminder that cognitive care is not confined to an activity calendar. It lives in daily life. It lives in the kitchen. It lives in the dining room, in the garden, in our traditions, in muscle memory. It's the simplest act that one can make to awaken the deepest parts of identity in those that we care for and those that we serve and love. If this episode resonated with you, please consider subscribing to the Disappearing Mind podcast, sharing our podcast, reaching out for our resources to thedisappearingmind.com. We have lots of resources like Ellie's on our website and available to you. Share with a caregiver or perhaps the culinary director in your community. Ellie is an inspiration. I do back this program and will be promoting it wherever I go. I want to say to all of you listening, you are not alone. The Disappearing Mind was created for you. We intend to provide information that will help you on your caregiving journey. Until next time, this is Dawn Platt. Make it a memorable day.
Thank you for joining us for the Disappearing Mind podcast. We hope it's helped you find clarity and support along your journey. Be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode, visit our website to suggest future topics, and share the podcast with friends and family.